again, Kansas went in and they needed this one bad. Bill Self's never lost 4 straight since he's been at Kansas in 20 years. And tonight would have been the first time. Kentucky's rolling, Rob. And it's this new lineup playing CJ Frederick with Antonio Reeves and Casey Wallace. And instead, Kansas goes into Rupp and gets a win. What does it say more about that Kansas, you feel better about them, or we kind of overrated Kentucky a little bit and now you're not feeling nearly as good, or a combination of the two?
All of the above, right? Like I don't think that it necessarily is a statement on either one of these teams wholeheartly. I don't think I could be more impressed, one, with Jalen Wilson, and two, with the way that some of the guys stepped up around him. Frankly, and Matt, I'm curious your opinion on this. I think that the guy that's going to determine what Kansas ends up being this season is going to end up being DeJuan Harris, right? The last 4 games we saw him really struggle 2 for 18 from the floor. He wasn't great offensively tonight. Like, no one's going to confuse him with Ja Morant after this performance, but he finished with 8 points and 8 assists. He made 2 threes early. He forced Kentucky to have to respect him. They tried to play, I don't know if you guys remember this, I think it was 2018 in the same game. What Kentucky did was they just didn't guard Marcus Garrett, and they basically gave him like the Andre Jackson treatment, and Kentucky ended up winning that game. And it looked like they were trying to do that with DeJuan Harris, and then he hit too early, and it forced Kentucky to kind of give up that game plan and start guarding him, which created space and created driving lanes, and it kind of changed the way that the game went. So I was really, really impressed. That place was rocking, right? Like, Rupp is not always the loudest arena and the loudest building, but that place was rocking tonight. And Kansas, every time they needed a big bucket, they hit it. Like, I think that's what I really took away from this game, was that one team had guys that had been through it and have been to a national title game and have won a national title and understood that pressure. And the other team had, Jacob Toppin taking 13 footers that were contested with 20 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah, I think you bring up a couple of points. One, the shot making by Jalen Wilson is especially late in the game. I mean, the shot he hit in the corner with the game on the line, with a hand in his face. I mean, Jacob Toppin was guarding him, and Jacob Toppin's not the smallest defender. The shot he made in the corner with the game on the line, to take that shot and have the confidence to shoot that ball in that situation was unbelievable. I think the other point, Rob, you bring up too is like the offensive execution coming down the stretch for Kentucky, right? Like the charge that Toppin picked up, I think it was like 2 minutes to go in the game, whatever it was. Like, how is the ball not in Oscar Tshiebwe's hand at that point in time? Jalen Wilson hits a 3. They come out of the timeout, Kentucky. They run a cross screen. They don't run a ton of cross screens to get Oscar Tshiebwe the ball on the block. They run a cross screen. Toppin has the ball on the wing. Tshiebwe's wide open, and he doesn't throw him the ball. And it's like, the play is for him to get the ball. Throw it to him. It's the old, like, fake high, go low, fake low, go high, like fake a pass to make a pass. But he has to get the ball, and the play was for him. And he didn't throw it to him. So it's like he's wide open. Why is he not getting the ball in that situation? The play was for him. So I just thought, like, there was plays like that for Kentucky where, they've been on a run. They've been playing great. Like, at that moment in time, you want to talk about winning a championship, make the right play. Like, it's not about you. It's about getting the guy the ball in the spot where he can be successful. And the play was for him to get the ball on the block, and he didn't throw it to him. And it's just like, what's going on here? Why is he not the first time? Like, why is he not getting the ball? Like, you just ran a guy over, right? You turned it over, and then the next play, like, Cal runs a good action to get Oscar Tshiebwe the ball on the block, and they don't throw it to him. And it's just like, what? Like, that's the disconnect with Kentucky, in my opinion. Like, that's his ball, that's his play. Throw it to him. He scores. Go back down, get a stop. The game could be different. It's just like, like that's to me the disconnect in that situation. He has to get the ball.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Matt. And I think it's the discipline that Kentucky, that Kansas teams always play with, right? They're all you never really see that situations like that where they take the shot, where they don't run the play, where you make a bad decision in a big moment from a Kansas team, from a Bill Self coach team. And I think more than anything, that's kind of like what coaching is, right? To get guys in the best situation to succeed. Now, tonight, Kansas happened to hit all the big shots. Some nights those aren't going to go in, but you got the shots that you wanted, as opposed to, like I mentioned earlier, you had a Jacob Toppin pull up from 13 feet. You had him in the post and forcing the National Player of the Year to get out of the way so Jacob Toppin can go post up. One of the best defenders in college basketball, and Kevin McCullough. You had situations where I don't want to make this be like just hate on Severe Wheeler, but there were times where you have him driving to his right hand, which is not what you want from Severe Wheeler, trying to make these weird angle lefty layups. So I think the big picture, when you want to look at it like that, is Kansas made their threes down the stretch. CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves were a combined 0 for 8. Sometimes the ball goes in, sometimes it doesn't. But I think Kentucky was right there. And in the big moments, Kansas got the shots that you wanted to get, whereas Kentucky didn't necessarily get those.
Yeah, but they had them. They had them, Rob. You know what I mean? Like the play. Like, again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but they don't run a ton of cross screen action, and they ran it, and he's wide open on the block.
Oh, yeah.
And like,
all right. So wait. Big picture. We get it. They didn't get Oscar the ball. He had 9 shots all game against KJ Adams and a small Kansas team. That should not happen. All right. The result is the result now. Kentucky, everybody was kind of feeling good about them, putting them on the right side of the bubble. They had won 4 in a row. Obviously, the win in Knoxville was a huge one. That's the resume win. You beat Georgia and Texas A&M at home and Vandy on the road. Ho hum, right? Ho hum to me. Big effing deal. They've got a couple opportunities left. That's it now. You look at it and you say to yourself, the SEC, there's only a couple big resume wins now that Arkansas has kind of fallen off, okay? You've got Tennessee again at home on February 18th. Other than that, what do you have? You have Arkansas twice. Arkansas might not be a tournament team at the end of the day. So how important is it that they get a sweep of Tennessee to be able to make sure that they're in the NCAA tournament, Rob?
I don't think that they have to, because they have the single best win that you're going to find in college basketball this season, winning at Tennessee. And that makes up for a lot of the warts on that resume, including the loss to South Carolina, which is a quad 4 loss. If they want to get like a good seed, if you're talking about like a 5 or a 6 seed, I don't want to say they have to win out, but they got to win the majority of these games. They probably have to go 7-3, 8-2 down the stretch with the win against Tennessee if they don't want to end up in like an 8-9 game, because that's kind of where I see them ending up. But I'm still in on this Kentucky team big picture in terms of where they were about 3 weeks ago. I think that the switch to this lineup with CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves works. I think the proof is in the pudding, because CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves played terribly tonight, and Kentucky was right there. You're 1 or 2 possessions away from winning this game. A couple of missed shots from Kansas, a little bit better execution, and you win that game. So I'm still in on Kentucky being like a top 25 to 30 kind of a team, big picture. The question is, if you're going to end up being a 10 seed or an 11 seed versus being a 5 seed or a 6 seed, it changes what we're looking at in terms of your likelihood for being able to make a run. Yeah, I think it does. Because if you're an 11 seed, then you're playing like a Wake Forest or an NC State. Whereas if you're an 11 seed, then you're going to get a top 25 team. You're going to get a much better team. So
big deal. Honestly, what's the difference these days? There's
not much. There's not that much.
That's all I'm saying. I think it's avoiding. To me, it's probably avoiding the 1 seed still. And I'm not even sure the 1s are overpowering. Like, honestly, if Kentucky ends up as an 8-9 and they have to face Purdue in the second round, are you telling me Kentucky can't beat Purdue if they make shots, Matt?
No, I think they can. I think they can definitely beat them. When they get out in transition and they get those baskets and they're electric in those types of situations, I think that's where they're really, really good. I think if you're a 1 seed and all of a sudden you have to play Kentucky in the second round, and we all know that BBN travels and it's going to essentially be a home game. I don't care who they play against. It's going to be a home game from them. If I'm the opposing coach and I got Kentucky in the second round as a 1 seed, I would be concerned.